This is the Sergio Rodriguez Show.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sergio Rodriguez Show, a show unlike any other. Today, week 15 in the NFL, very entertaining. A couple of really good games, a couple of games that left you wanting more, but some good exciting play, particularly from the quarterback position. A lot of exciting plays this week, to say the least. We're also going to touch a little on the NBA as the 2020-21 season kicks off tonight with the Nets and Golden State. And we're also going to discuss a little bit of the college football Final Four, which was announced. I'm not going to do any college basketball on the show today. We have a full slate of college hoops that we're going to discuss tomorrow with ESPN's own Joe Lunardi, and it's going to be in a separate release. It's going to be an individual interview that we're going to release later on in the week. But before we get started with the Chargers and the Raiders, let's talk about Triangle Ink. Triangle Ink is the leading manufacturer in the screen printing industry, delivering the finest inks for over 35 years. Check them out at triangleink.com or call them at 1-800-524-1592. Vergona Cranes, located at 180 West Forest Avenue in Englewood, New Jersey, Vergona Cranes operates 24 hours a day, providing crane rentals, trucking services, and warehousing for storage. Vergona Cranes services the New York and New Jersey area. Call them at 201-945-7209 or on their website at vergonacrane.com. Paramus Driving School. Safety and professionalism begins with Paramus Driving School, serving the North Jersey area like no other. Contact them at paramusdrivingschool.com or call them at 201-986-8300. The Chargers and the Raiders kicked off Week 15 on Thursday night. A game that realistically only had juice one way, right? The Raiders needed to win that game. Well, they lost that game 30-27. Just a terrible job by the Raiders. Staring the chance to make the playoffs right in the face. What do? They blow the game. They blow the game. And I'll tell you, the interesting thing about them losing that game is not so much that they lost a football game, because we understand that can happen in this league. But to lose a game to a Chargers team that might be, that is the worst coached team in the league is embarrassing. Just totally embarrassing, especially when the Raiders had something to play for. At 24-24, they're driving, the Raiders are, to win the game. They have a 2nd and 8 with under 2 minutes left, and this is where I thought the Raiders got a little cute. They call a drop-back pass from the Chargers 21, a conventional drop-back pass with Mariota in the game, not Carr, who had gotten hurt earlier in the game. They throw the ball is low, tipped up, intercepted. I was going to call him San Diego. Los Angeles runs it down damn near to the other 30, and they miss a game-winning field goal as time expires. Okay, they catch that break, the Raiders do. So what happens? They receive the opening kickoff, and they proceed to march down. I mean, just a phenomenal drive. They get down 1st and goal from the 3, and they have to settle for 3. And the Chargers came right down. They 75 yards on 5 play, and Herbert sent us home with just a shocking loss for me for the Raiders. I just never thought that they would lose that game. I really did not. I felt that they had turned the corner of winning the games they needed to win. And normally in football, the desperate team tends to win. I was really shocked on Thursday after that game. My God, why do I keep on fumbling over his name? Mariota, 17 for 28, 226, a touchdown and an interception. Herbert, 22 for 32, 314 and 2 touchdowns. Waller, monster game for the Raiders. 9 catches, 150 and a touchdown. The Bills, 48-19 over the Broncos. I've been saying this all year. Josh Allen is beyond special. 28 for 40, 2 touchdowns. 3 carries for 33 yards and 2 touchdowns. Here's what I loved about what Buffalo did the other night. They went into Denver, a defense that's pretty good, and they didn't fool around with this game. They went in there. They knew they needed to win. If they won, they clinched the AFC East. They went in there and they just got the job done. From the jump, they got the job done. Buffalo got a $149 from Moss and Singletary on the ground, which I've been telling you guys is the key for them. They have to run the ball to complement what Josh Allen does. Diggs, 11 for 147, phenomenal. Beasley, 8 for a $112. Locke, coming off his career game, was 20 for 32, 132 and a touchdown. But he played from behind the whole game, just could not really do anything. Coming out of the half, the game was still a little bit in the balance. It was 21-13, but they just could not muster up anything against Buffalo. The Bills are 11-3, and they clinched the AFC East, and now they are going to the Pats, and then, or let me see, at Pats and then home to Miami. Correct. They're at the Pats and home to Miami. And with the Steelers' loss, now they're playing for a serious shot at the 2 seed outright, because they, which could become really important, because you can, the way the matchups are landing, you can end up with Miami in that first game, which is a recognizable team for you. Although sometimes these guys like staying away from those interdivision games. But that 2 seed keeps you at least home until you have to play in Kansas City, who's going to be the 1 seed if Kansas City advances. Green Bay, 24-16 over Carolina. Green Bay went up 21-3 midway through the second. And then they put it in cruise control. And they let Carolina hang around. But the game was never in danger, but they just could not get rid of Carolina. Rodgers, 20 for 29, 143, a touchdown. He did run for 1. You know, it's funny because I had Rodgers in fantasy, and he basically put up 20 points in the first damn near quarter and a half. You thought he was going to have a monster game, and he just didn't do much afterwards. Jones, 20 for 145 and a touchdown for the Packers. Green Bay is 11-3, and they host Tennessee in what's going to be a fascinating game. A game that I think is going to have over 60 points next week. I'm interested to see what the line in that game, that line's got to be about 55, 56, has to. Because Green Bay struggles with teams that are physical and can run the ball, and Tennessee gives up a lot of points to teams through the air. So Green Bay is going to face them. They are at home, and then they are going to the Bears, who got themselves back into contention to have a shot for that final playoff spot with the happenings on Sunday across the league. Carolina's 4-10, but they're traveling to Washington and then hosting the Saints. So they can really affect a lot of the playoff scenarios that are left over in the NFC. The Cowboys, 41-33 over the 49ers. The Cowboys jumped out 14-0 on 2 49er turnovers, and they ended up with a short field on both of them. The Cowboys never trailed. The 49ers did battle back to tie it. They tied it at 17, and I believe they tied it at 24 also. But Nick Mullins then went to work. 2 interceptions. He always gives you at least 1, but he gave the Cowboys 2, and the Cowboys went up 41-27. The 49ers got a Hail Mary at the end of the game for window dressing. Dalton, 19 for 33, 209 and 2 touchdowns. Pollard, who played in place of Ezekiel Elliott, who was out, a $132 all Saquon and 2 touchdowns and 1 defining run to basically ice the game. The 49ers ran for 150 and they threw for 308. But you can't play a game in the NFL, no matter who you're playing, and turn the ball over 4 times. This was 2 bad teams playing each other, and the team that didn't turn the ball over won. That's really what it came down to it. Dallas, mathematically, still alive. Home to Philadelphia, and then at the New York Giants. If you're a Dallas fan and you really want to know how you get in, win this weekend and win next weekend and hope that the Washington football team loses both. Tampa 31-27 over Atlanta. If games were only 3 quarters, Atlanta would be probably in contention to win the Super Bowl. I mean, they can blow games with the best of them. And on Sunday, it was no different. 24-7 halfway through the third. And here's the interesting thing. They're up 17-0. Tampa comes out of the half and scores. And now you're like, okay, here come the Buccaneers. Atlanta didn't fold right away. They actually came right down and scored. Give Brady a lot of credit. He's not the same Brady of 10 years ago or 5 years ago even. But, man, he competes. He willed that team to win that game. Brought them back. And they did their thing. Brady finished 31 for 45, 392 touchdowns. And look, they got the win. But it's hard to look at this team right now and expect them to make a run in the playoffs. Tampa shows you flashes even within games, but they just have too many issues. The biggest issue, honestly, right now for them might be coaching. They are just ill-prepared in these games, whether it's to start the games or making adjustments. You know, I felt that what they did in that game in terms of coming back weren't really adjustments. I just think the players bailed out the coaching staff. They only ran for 51 yards, and there's really no commitment to the run, which Brady needs if he's going to be successful at age 43. Tampa's 9-5. They travel to Detroit, and then they host Atlanta again. They play Atlanta again. So they're going to be fine in terms of getting in, but if they have to travel, to any place other than, let's say, Washington, who's probably going to win that eastern part of the NFC, I don't know if Tampa's a lock to get at least one win in the playoffs. Tennessee 46-25 over Detroit. This was the Ryan Tannehill show. 5 touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 3 in the air. He was 21 for 27, 273. And the Titans also got a $147 from Henry, who last week I told you had an outside shot of getting to the 2,000 mark on the ground. Probably is not going to do it. He still needs 300 and change. He needs more than 150 per game. But my point is, it's feasible, especially since they're playing 2 teams that, can give up 350 yards of rushing the next couple of weeks. Green Bay, like I said, struggles with teams that punch them in the mouth. And then they have the Texans. So it's feasible. Stafford, who came into the game hurting, was 22 for 32, 252 and a touchdown. And Marvin Jones had himself a nice game, 10 for $112 and a touchdown. Like I said, Tennessee, big road game at Green Bay next week. Miami 22-12 over the Patriots. Let's speak about the Dolphins and put them into a different compartment, or in different compartments, I should say. There was the Miami team from the first couple of games when Fitz was the quarterback that I loved to watch. Exciting. Every game was nip and tuck, but man, it was great. It was like watching arena football. And then there are the Dolphins that I've been watching the last 7 or 8 weeks. And I tell you, watching this team play right now is like watching your grass grow. Now, look, they're winning, so you can't say anything. But, man, every time I watch a Dolphins game on Mondays to prepare and watch and get some stuff for the show, man, it's like pulling teeth watching that team. I will say this, though. They're winning. Like I said, they're winning. And that's what Miami fans like now, right? You know, after years of only liking Marino's stats, now they want to talk about wins. Tua, 20 for 26, a 145 and an interception. He did have 9 yards rushing, which resulted, ironically, in 2 touchdowns. The kid Ahmed for the Dolphins, 23 for a buck, 22 and a touchdown. Miami dominated the time of possession, 38-22, and ran 18 more plays and rushed for 250. So they should have won the game. The Patriots are bad too. Cam Newton's just terrible. Miami's 9-5. Still not in the playoffs yet because the Ravens are coming. They're at the Raiders in a game that's probably going to decide whether they get in or not. That line is going to be interesting also. If Miami's a favorite at LA, or in Vegas, I should say, they're getting beat. If the Raiders are a favorite, Miami wins that game. And then they go to the Bills after that. The Bears, 33-27 over Minnesota. Look, I like Mike Zimmer a lot. A lot. He's a good guy. One of the good guys in the league, but it might be time to move on. In the last 5 weeks, where they should have taken control of a playoff spot that's been dangling there in the NFC, the Vikings have 1, lost to Dallas. 2, stole a game from Carolina. 3, beat the Jags in overtime. 4, lost to the Bears. And obviously, you know, they had the Tampa game where they played well. But they're just not sharp, you know. And by the way, the 4 games that I mentioned before the Tampa game, all were at home. At home. You cannot give up 400 yards and 33 points to the Bears. You just can't. You just can't. I mean, and especially not at home. And in a must-win situation, embarrassing. Embarrassing. And Mike Zimmer's got to fall on the sword for this one. Mitch, all he does is win. I'll tell you, you can complain all you want and call him a bum, but all he does is win. I think he's 5-2 for the Bears this year. Montgomery, 32, 146, and 2 touchdowns for the Bears. 7-7. Minnesota did get a $132 on 24 carries from Cook. Look, are the Bears going to get in? Probably not. Probably not. Because the Bears are bad enough to go to Jacksonville this week and lose. But if the Bears can get the next 2 games at Jacksonville, winnable game, and then they go to Green Bay, and if Green Bay wins and gets help, they could be clinched. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, they could go in there, and Green Bay, again, has proven they could lose to physical teams. So, you know, the Bears have more life than you would think. But, you know, we'll speak about Arizona when we get to their game with the Eagles and see how their schedule matches up. Seattle 20-15 over Washington. This was a terrible game to watch. Probably the worst game to watch other than the Dolphins game, which, like I said, puts you to sleep because there's never a big play. And then when you compound the fact that Miami was playing New England and Cam Newton, it was more terrible. But Seattle took care of business. They won. But Wilson, who's normally worth the price of admission, was pedestrian in this game. 18 for 27, 121, a touchdown and an interception. And if the Washington coaches and fans, let me tell you something, if they don't realize by now that Dwayne Haskins is terrible, then I don't know what to tell you. And the next time I have Lake Lewis on, I got to mention that because he was on Twitter, you know, trying to give you reason for hope if you were watching that game and watching that Washington offense. But it's hard to watch Dwayne Haskins play, man. I mean, he's just brutal. This game was 20-3 Seattle, and they almost blew it. They held on, but they almost blew it. Seattle with the, they allowed they allowed 2 fourth quarter touchdowns and allowed the Redskins to get back in it. Ironically, a missed extra point really ended up being the issue there, because if they would have just kicked 2 extra points, they had to go for 2 the second time the Redskins did, but if they would have just had the 2 extra points, they would have been driving, which they did on that last drive for a tying field goal instead of having to score a touchdown. Seattle has the Rams next week, which is going to be for the division. The Rams opened the door by horrifically losing to the Jets. All right. And actually Seattle's actually in control of first place right now mathematically, but we know that the winner of that game is going to win it. Seattle, like I said, will host the Rams and then is at San Francisco. The Rams did win game 1, so Seattle has to win. If they lose and then the Rams lose the following week, best they could do is a tie, even if they win. So they need to win this week. Washington 6-8. They're home to Carolina and then at Philly. For Washington, it's simple. Win one of the next 2, you should be okay, because the Giants are not going to get to 7 wins with the Ravens and the Cowboys. You're going to lose one of those 2, probably and most likely to the Ravens. So you're going to be able to handle it. And even if the Cowboys get to 7 wins, which again, that might be unlikely either, Washington has the tiebreaker. The Ravens 40-14 over the Jaguars. This game was 26-0 and 40-7. Enough said. Give the Ravens credit. Just like the Bills, in a game they needed to have, they went in and took care of business right away. Lamar 17 for 22, 243, 3 touchdowns and a pick. The Ravens defense held the Jags to 267 total yards for the game. The Ravens are still on the outside looking in. They really need the Raiders to beat Miami this weekend, or they can go into the last weekend looking for some help that might not come. The Ravens play the Giants at home. They should win, and then they're at Cincinnati. They should win, although Cincinnati looked phenomenal last night defensively. I mean, they were just beating up the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jags play Chicago and at the Colts. And for the Jags, who got a big early Christmas gift with the Jets winning and them becoming the number 1 seed in reverse, or the leaders to get the number 1 pick, I should say, I hope they're not dumb enough to win one of those games. But you know what? I think they could beat the Bears. It's a winnable game, especially at home. I know the Jet fans are definitely going to be rooting for them. The Jets 23-20 over the Rams. That was the game that I mentioned earlier. And the Rams have a chance to win the Super Bowl. But you can't go out and lose to the Jets at home when you are playing for a home game, and the possibility of the 2 seed and a division title. They fell behind 20-3, came back. You know, they made the game 23-20 and turned the ball over on downs in Jets territory, driving either for the tie or the win. Goff 22 for 34, 209, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Give the Jets credit. Darnold was 22 for 31, 207, 1 touchdown, and won the time of possession, which is key to keeping that Rams defense from being sharp, right? Keep them on the field longer, and they lose some of that steam. They won that time of possession 34-26. The Jets are at home to Cleveland and then the Pats. The Rams are at Seattle and Arizona. Speaking of Arizona, 33-26 over the Eagles. Very entertaining game. Arizona jumped out 16-0, but the Eagles scored 20 points in the second and were down actually 26-20 at the half. I mean, they got right back in it in a battle of the Oklahoma quarterbacks. Murray got the win, and he did his thing. Murray was 27 for 36, 406, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Hopkins, 9 for 169 and 1 touchdown through the air for Arizona. Jalen Hurts played well. 24 for 44, 338, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. What really kept this game close was the 3 turnovers that Arizona had, especially at 19-7. It gave Philly a short field, and they went down and made it 19-14. Arizona, 8-6-1 with a 1-game lead, or 1 game ahead of the Bears, have the 49ers and then at the Rams. Philadelphia, 4-9-1. Again, still alive because of that tie, but they need a lot of help. But they can do it because they play Washington. They need Washington to lose to Carolina. They need to beat the Cowboys, and then they will have a shot. The Chiefs, 32-29 over the Saints. This game was scary on 2 fronts if I'm a Chiefs fan. Number 1, KC is winning, but not sharp at all. Too many incomplete passes, too many games where they're winning, but are taking quarters off to let teams hang around. Perfect example. They won by 3 in a game where Breeze was back, but obviously not sharp. Controlled the ball for 41 of the 60 minutes, and still were in a game. They were up 14-0 and 29-15, but still managed a way to let the Saints hang around. Kansas City hosts Atlanta, and then the Chargers, they should be 15-1 to finish up. The Saints are right now the 2 seed and host the and the Saints right now are the 2 seed, but they do have to travel to Carolina, which could be a tough game for them to end the year. I don't know if they're going to be able to get both. The Browns, 20-6 over the Giants. The Giants offense, terrible. And the coaching is playing against them here. They don't kick the first field goal in the game, and they're gonna go. They go for it, right? They don't kick it, but then they go for it with the punting unit out. I mean, if you're gonna go for it, at least leave your offense out there, right? They try to run a fake, doesn't work. Instead of being up 3-0, they don't score. Then they end up going up 3-0, down 7-3, and again at 7-6. Instead of making the game 7-6, again, they go for it. They don't get it. And now Cleveland drives down, goes up 14-3. At that point, game over. The Giants don't have the offense to play from behind. They're the second worst offense in the league. Mayfield, 27 for 32, 297, 2 touchdowns. Actually, the Giants actually controlled the Browns' ground game. They held them to a $106 and a touchdown, but you can't play these games from behind, especially the Giants. They have no margin for error because their offense is just terrible. The Giants are at the Ravens and home to the Cowboys. Cleveland at the Jets and at Pittsburgh, a game that they might be able to get the division here. Speaking of Pittsburgh, the Bengals 27-17 over the Steelers. The Steelers are just not good. I've been saying this for 8 weeks. They can't run the ball. And you can't win in December when you can't run the ball, and it's caught up to them. It's caught up to them. Yesterday, they ran for 87 yards. Big Ben only threw for $170 and a touchdown and 1 interception. And honestly, he could have thrown 3 or 4 interceptions. They had 3 turnovers as it was. They could have had 5 or 6. Cincinnati, with their 3rd-string quarterback, figure out a way by just beating the Steelers physically up on defense. Give them credit, man. They came and they competed. They only threw for 89 yards, but they rushed for $152. Pittsburgh at the Colts, a line I'm interested to see, and Pittsburgh's home to the Colts, and then they're at the Browns. I've been telling you, Steeler fans, you're not that good. You're not that good. But you didn't want to listen to me. I hope you do now that you've seen it firsthand. Lucimer Auto Body, located at 27 Austin Street in Newark, provides top-of-the-line service to make your collision experience as smooth as possible. Go to lucimer.com or call 973-824-0113. M&J Luxury Inc. For the most unique experience in the medical transportation business, call M&J, located in New York City, With over 1,000 cars at your disposal, call them at 718-278-2222 or 914-484-7264. The NBA is starting this tonight, actually. Nets and Golden State are kicking off. Always a fun matchup when you get two guards like Kyrie and Steph playing against each other, but also the return of Kevin Durant, right? The last time we saw Durant was in the finals a year and a half ago, damn near 500 days ago, as he was trying to give it a go for Golden State versus Toronto. But a couple of things to look at as the season in the NBA starts. Number one, Harden. You know, today there was a report that he's, picking fights with players, with teammates, threw a ball at a rookie. They're going to have to get rid of this guy. Whether they like it or not, they know that they're going to have to sell 70 cents on the dollar. Just get what you can and move on, because you didn't win with this guy. And before he tarnishes whatever is left between him and the organization, you just have to move on. You just have to move on. The Lakers got a big lift off the COVID situation last year. See, I never thought that the Lakers would not be good enough to win the championship last year, but I felt that the Lakers, because of their age, and particularly Anthony Davis, who is always hurt, something would get them. Either LeBron would wear down at his age, although he's been pretty resilient, but, it would catch up because they were older. And I just thought Anthony Davis at some point would break down. They got the 3-4 months off, and they were able to come back into a bubble where they wanted to be at, and a lot of teams didn't, and they were able to get it done. But I'm interested to see if they can do it in a 72-game season and then go into the playoffs. That's going to be interesting for me. The Nets, they'll be good. The only thing that could derail the Nets really is Kyrie. I mean, every week it's just something different with this guy. Golden State should be, good again, back. Listen, not having Clay is going to be an issue for them. Without Clay, they're not winning a title. With Clay, they had a shot, but they'll be good. How much they get from the kid Wiseman is going to be big for them as they, try to get back amongst the elite. In my opinion, Denver is the second best team right now, starting today. I don't know where the Clippers are going to be. And look, if the Clippers come back and they're motivated with those two guys, they could damn near be the best team in the NBA. But I think Denver is going to give people a run for their money, and they're going to be in that mix. I think that the 1 seed is going to be very important for the Lakers and the Clippers if they want to win a title, or the 2 seed if Denver ends up being the 1 seed, to avoid them so you don't have to beat them both. Doc goes to Philly. Look, I felt Doc's been a little bit of an underachiever as a coach. I'm not as high on him as a lot of people are. But what's he really going to do there? The two problems that are there are still going to be there. The center likes to play on the perimeter too much, and the point guard can't shoot. It is what it is. He's not going to fix that. I will tell you that, in my opinion, Atlanta is going to be probably the one team that wasn't at the bubble outside of Golden State. Atlanta's going to be the one team that wasn't at the bubble that's going to make an impact at some point this year. They picked up Rondo, who is old, but he'll give them stability. They made a couple of moves. I think they are going to be a tough out in the East. They're not going to win the title, but they're going to be a tough out. I could see them being a 5-6 seed and making a run in the first round of the playoffs and giving somebody a scare before they bow out. But remember, I said that Atlanta is going to be better than you think. The football Final Four was also announced, and Look, everybody knew that Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State were going to be in. It was just a matter of whether they were going to put Texas A&M in or Notre Dame. Personally, and if you look at Vegas and myself will tell you Texas A&M belonged in the game from a competitive standpoint. That Alabama Notre Dame line is 19.5 in some places and 20 in others. Just to give you some perspective on this, Notre Dame played Duke this year and was a 21-point favorite. That's what we are having to witness in a Final Four setting for football. I mean, it was going to be a double-digit spread against Texas A&M, but at least Texas A&M plays that kind of those guys all the time, that schedule that could probably have been, a little bit more competitive. And look, I know the SEC was a little down this year from where it normally is, but I mean, they still played Florida. They still, I don't know, man. I would have liked to seen that matchup again in terms of competition. I thought it would have been better than what we're going to get from Notre Dame. I just think Notre Dame's going to get trounced. I just do. The other game, Clemson is a 7.5-point favorite over Ohio State. Something interesting, I saw Dabo Swinney ranked Ohio State 11th in the coaches poll. I guess, complaining about the fact that they only played a handful of games this year. So maybe Ohio State will have a little extra motivation when they come in to play the game. Fairfield Physical Therapy Center, located in the Fairfield Commons Suite G106, is owned and operated by Justin Solotov, who has over 20 years of experience in the field of orthopedic and physical therapy. Call Justin at 973-276-1313 and stop living with pain and discomfort. Epic Car Service, recognizes the number one service in New York City car service in New York City by medical transportation standards. Located in the Bronx, New York, Epic Car Service will make your commute a safe and comfortable experience. Call Epic at 718-401-3742 or 844-666-6278. The gambling portion of the Sergio Rodriguez Show for Week 16 is brought to you by Stan Sports Center. Stan Sports Center is your local full-service authorized team dealer for all of your favorite sports brands. Family owned and operated, Stan's has proudly supplied apparel, uniforms, equipment, varsity jackets, and much more for the entire tri-state area since 1946. Find them online at stansportsctr.com and contact them today for your sporting goods needs. We start with New Orleans, a 7-point favorite at home against Minnesota. That game's on Friday. It's actually on Christmas Day. I think New Orleans is going to get the job done. I just can't see Minnesota running the ball to the tune that they would need to make this game competitive and to beat the Saints. Tampa is a 9.5-point favorite at Detroit. I know that line opened up at 7.5. A lot of people obviously are on Tampa. Detroit's not just going to roll right over. And like I said earlier, Tampa's not firing on all cylinders like people thought. I think right now they're getting more the name. They have more substance in name than substance in team. Arizona is a 5-point favorite at home over the 49ers, a 49ers team that's going to come in. Nick Mullins today announced he's having arm surgery. He got hurt towards the end of the Dallas game. Beathard, I guess, will start, and I think they signed Josh Rosen. My cousin Alex, who's a big 49er fan, texted me earlier about that. Miami's a 3-point favorite at Las Vegas, and this is what I talked about. A 3-point favorite in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is the play. Bet the Raiders in that game. The Chargers are a 3-point favorite at home over Denver. meaningless game. Cleveland's a 9.5-point favorite at the Jets. The Jets, can they play like that 2 weeks in a row? Interesting. And getting 9.5 points at home, something to take a look at. Houston's an 8-point favorite at home against Cincinnati. Why would anybody in their right mind lay 8 points with Houston? Indianapolis, here's the other line that I wanted to see. Indianapolis is a 1.5-point favorite on the road at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is definitely the play there. You know, everybody's going to jump on Indianapolis because Pittsburgh played this game on national TV and looked terrible. And make no mistake about it, they're bad, but they will win on Sunday. Chicago's a 7.5-point favorite on the road at Jacksonville. I always say that the desperate team wins 9 out of 10 times in the NFL. Chicago's the desperate team. They have something to play for. Jacksonville doesn't. Don't be shocked, though, if Jacksonville makes this game competitive. Washington, a 2.5-point favorite over Carolina. I know a lot of people. I heard Brent Musburger today say that he liked Carolina in that game. And I could see it. Washington's got quarterback problems, especially if Haskins is going to play again. I just can't see Carolina. This game, to me, is going to be 17-14. I think the Washington team figures out a way to win this game. Baltimore is a 10-point favorite at home against the Giants. Baltimore's game plan is very simple. Score 17 and win easily. Kansas City is a 10.5-point favorite at home against Atlanta. Kansas City will roll this game. Although that line could probably end up closer to 12 by the time it's over. Seattle's a 1.5-point favorite at the Rams, at home against the Rams. I like the Rams in this game, and I'll tell you why. Home teams normally get 3 points. Home team normally give 3 points at home. That's how the line starts. That's how the odds makers in Vegas start. And they're telling you that Seattle is only a 1.5-point favorite. What they're actually telling you is the Rams are a better team. They already won game one. Take them. And Seattle really has beaten no one. Philadelphia, actually, you know what? I guess they did beat the Dolphins. I got to give them a little credit for that one. Philly's a 2-point favorite at Dallas. Dallas is the play here, man. I'm telling you, Dallas will win this game. 3 weeks in a row, go with Dallas. And for the second week in a row, the Sergio Rodriguez picks will take Dallas. And I'll tell you what, we were 5-1 this week. Nice bounce back week after having 2 consecutive losing weeks, which were our only 2 losing weeks of the season. Green Bay's a 3.5-point favorite. And look, that total, like I said, 56. So expect a lot of points in that game. That'll be a fun one. And it's a night game. So it's going to be probably chilly there. Green Bay could lose that game. But one thing's for sure, both teams will be over 30 points. Buffalo is a 7-point favorite on the road at New England. The game matters now. So Buffalo, I'm sure, is going to come in there and play. It'll be a physical game, probably low scoring, but Buffalo should take care of business. Well, everybody, we've come to the end of our show, and I appreciate you guys, like always, listening. And remember that the Sergio Rodriguez Show is a show unlike any other.